Everybody is talking about AI upskilling, but here's the real question. How do you build training that actually works? Today, we're going to dig into a really sharp guide from Bob Slovic at Virtualization Options LLC, which is a Colorado-based advisory firm. And they have a method that promises to stop companies from just, throwing money down the drain on training that goes nowhere. The secret, believe it or not, is a surprisingly simple approach.
So, let's just ask it straight up. Is your current AI training wasting money? It's a story we hear all the time, right? Companies spend a fortune on these generic programs, and what happens? You get frustrated employees and absolutely zero improvement in performance. It's a massive problem, but thankfully it is a solvable one. And this quote right here, it just nails it. It really gets to the heart of the whole thing. If you don't actually understand the day-to-day nitty-gritty tasks your employees are doing, how on earth can you train them to use AI to do those tasks better? The short answer is, well, you can't.
And this is the big aha moment. The solution isn't just to throw more training at the problem. It's about getting the right training. And to do that, you have to stop guessing and start using a real data-driven approach.
And that systematic approach has a name. It's called Job Task Analysis, or JTA for short. This is the main idea we're going to unpack today. Think of it as the tool that finally takes the guesswork out of building an AI upskilling program that works. So what the heck is job task analysis? Well, to put it simply, it's a process for putting a job under a microscope. You break it down into all of its individual little pieces, the tasks, to figure out precisely what a person needs to know and what they need to be able to do to be great at that role. It's all about the work itself. Now here is a really important distinction. You've probably heard of competency models. They focus on what an employee has, things like strategic thinking or communication skills. But JTA is different. It focuses on what an employee actually does, the real tasks. And this is so critical because AI doesn't change your personality, it changes the work you do every single day. Okay, so I think we've got a pretty good handle on what JTA is. The next logical question is, how do you actually do it? How do you put it into practice? Turns out, it breaks down into a really clear 4-phase process. The whole thing really boils down to 4 distinct phases. First, you've got preparation. Then you move into the deep dive analysis. After that, you translate what you found into actual training needs. And finally, you implement the plan. It's a totally logical flow, from understanding the job to building the solution. If you remember just one thing about JTA, let it be this. You have to get granular. The real power of this whole thing comes from a technique called task decomposition. That just means drilling way, way down into the tiny details of every task. Vague, high-level descriptions just aren't going to cut it here.
But granular can sound a little abstract. What does it actually look like when you're doing it? Let's walk through a real-world example to make this super clear.
Okay, let's take a financial analyst. A big task like produce a monthly report isn't just one action. No way. It's actually a ton of subtasks. See here? Collecting data can be automated by AI. Cleaning that data can be augmented by AI. And the actual analysis, that can be completely transformed. Notice how each little piece has a different AI impact? That means each piece requires a completely different new skill. This is exactly how you pinpoint what people really need to learn. And that, my friends, is the big payoff. Instead of signing everyone up for a generic AI for finance course, you now have a precise list. You know you need to train them on setting up data connections, on how to interpret the flags AI raises, and on how to edit AI-generated summaries. The training becomes targeted, relevant, and just incredibly effective.
So you've done the deep dive analysis. You've identified all the new skills people are going to need. The next step is turning all that great data into action. How do we actually build the training program from here?
Well, the very next step is what's called a skill gap analysis. It's pretty simple, really. You take the list of new skills that are required for these AI-powered tasks, and you compare it to the skills your employees already have. That difference, that gap, that's your training target. This chart for a customer service rep shows exactly what I mean. You can literally see the skill gaps. For these critical new skills, like interpreting sentiment analysis or editing an AI's response, the gap between where the team is now and where they need to be is huge. In one case, it's a 3-level gap. This isn't guesswork anymore. It's a precise, data-driven roadmap for your training. When you see a gap that big, it tells you exactly where to focus your time, your energy, and your budget first. It's all about prioritizing for the biggest possible impact. So once you know the gaps, you can build a really solid curriculum. And this goes way beyond just teaching someone how to click buttons in a new tool. It means you cover the AI foundations so they have context. You teach tool-specific skills so they can get the job done. You work on workflow integration so it's efficient. And most importantly, you build up the human decision-making skills needed to really partner with the AI.
We've covered the what and the how. Now, let's wrap this up with some super important best practices and a few pitfalls to avoid so you can make sure all this effort actually pays off.
Okay, the absolute biggest mistake you can make is rolling out a generic one-size-fits-all AI course for everybody. It's totally irrelevant for most people, it's frustrating for everyone, and honestly, it's a complete waste of time and money. Use the data from your JTA to customize everything.
And on the flip side, the single best thing you can do is involve your employees from the very beginning. They are the true experts on their own jobs. When you engage them, it reduces fear, it makes sure your analysis is actually accurate, and it builds buy-in for the training that comes later. This final quote really sums it all up perfectly. Job task analysis isn't just another boring HR process. It's a strategic tool. It ensures that your investment in AI training is directly tied to the real, everyday work that your employees are actually paid to do.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. As you look at your own organization, what's the one job role where this kind of deep, task-level analysis could make the biggest impact right now? Find that role because that's your starting point.